December 5th, 1872, the Atlantic Ocean. From the deck of the British brigantine Dei Grazia. Something peculiar caught Captain David Morehouse's eye at a ship, familiar in silhouette, yet moving with an unsettling, rudderless wandered NO flags, NO response to signals. Just a silent, aimless dance upon the waves. 2 hours of observation confirmed it. Something was deeply wrong. Chief Mate Oliver Devoe, dispatched to investigate, rowed across the restless water, his boots, soon to be the first in days to touch her abandoned decks. What greeted him wasn't the chaos of a wreck, nor the devastation of a fire. It was a scene of bewildering, pristine normalcy. The galley stove, cold but ready at a meal half-eaten, sat on a table in the mess. The child's doll lay discarded on a bunk. A haunting whisper of play interrupted in the captain's cabin. A sewing machine stood open, its needle still poised over a half-finished garment. Every detail spoke of an everyday life, abruptly, inexplicably paused. Yet, there was no one to not Captain Benjamin Briggs, his wife Sarah, their 2-year-old daughter Sophia. Not a single member of the 7-man crew. 10 souls, gone. The ship's lifeboat was missing, launched deliberately, not lost to storm. Vital navigation instruments, the chronometer, the sextant were gone. But personal valuables, money, silver, remained untouched in their quarters. No signs of struggle, no blood, no obvious distress. Just an empty vessel, perfectly seaworthy, drifting in the vast, indifferent ocean. What happened on board the Mary Celeste? What force, what terror, could make every living being simply vanish? The ship stood as a silent witness to an impossible secret, a question posed by the depths, echoing across a century and a half. To begin to understand this baffling mystery, we must first look to the Mary Celeste's origins. This story begins not with an act of violence or a grand expedition, but in the prosaic world of commercial shipping and the bustling shipyards of Spencer's Island, Nova Scotia, in the year 1861. A sturdy brigantine was born, her timbers meticulously shaped, her masts reaching for the sky. She was christened the Amazon, designed for the arduous, often brutal, task of transatlantic commerce. She embodied the hopes and ambitions of her builders. Yet, from her very inception, a pall seemed to hang over her. Her maiden voyage saw her captain fall gravely ill and die. Subsequent journeys were plagued by collisions, groundings, and mishaps that, for the superstitious sailors of the age, suggested a vessel cursed perhaps. Some whispered she carried an ill omen within her very keel. By 1868, after a series of misfortunes and changes of ownership, she underwent a dramatic transformation. Purchased by a New York consortium, she was refitted, overhauled, and given a new identity, a chance, perhaps, to shed her unlucky past. She was reborn as the Mary Celeste. Her lines were graceful, her sails capable of harnessing the Atlantic winds with impressive speed. Approximately 282 tons. She was a mid-sized merchant vessel poised to take on the vital trade routes between the burgeoning markets of the New World and the established ports of Europe. Her primary cargo would be the volatile yet lucrative denatured alcohol, often destined for the fortification of wines or industrial use. On November 7, 1872, the Mary Celeste prepared for a routine voyage from New York Harbor, bound for Genoa, Italy. Aboard her was her esteemed captain, Benjamin Spooner Briggs, a man of deep religious conviction, renowned for his seamanship, his prudence, and his unwavering dedication to his crew. Captain Briggs was no stranger to the perils of the sea. But this voyage was different. With him were his cherished wife, Sarah Elizabeth Cobb Briggs, and their bright 2-year-old daughter, Sophia Matilda. This was a family embarking on an adventure, sharing the confined, yet often comforting world of their ship. Joining them were 7 experienced crew members: Andrew Gilling, the first mate, Albert Richardson, the second mate, and 4 German sailors: Volkert Lorenzen, Arian Martins, Boyce, and a cook named de Grau, whose full name is lost to history. 10 souls in total, setting out across an ocean that would soon swallow their story whole. The initial days of the voyage were uneventful. The Mary Celeste, a speck against the vast canvas of the Atlantic, made steady progress. Captain Briggs, meticulously logging every detail in his journal, recorded fair winds and moderate seas. The ship was a microcosm of routine. The creak of the timbers, the flap of the sails, the rhythm of watches, the laughter of a child echoing across the deck, a familiar scene to thousands of sailors, yet one that, for the Mary Celeste, was teetering on the precipice of an unimaginable mystery. Then, on December 5, 1872, approximately 400 nautical miles east of the Azores, a serendipitous encounter occurred. The British brigantine Dei Grazia, also en route from New York to Gibraltar with a cargo of petroleum, sighted a vessel behaving erratically. Her captain, David Morehouse, was a seasoned mariner, and he instantly recognized the silhouette of the Mary Celeste. Indeed, he and Captain Briggs had shared dinner just weeks prior in New York, trading pleasantries before their respective departures. The sight of his acquaintance's vessel, strangely adrift, sails partly set but appearing to wander aimlessly, immediately roused Captain Morehouse's suspicion. For 2 tense hours, the Dei Grazia observed her. No flags were flown, no signals answered. The silence was deafening, amplified by the vast, empty ocean, growing increasingly uneasy. Captain Morehouse ordered his chief mate, Oliver Devoe, to take a boat and investigate. What Devoe and his 2 accompanying sailors found aboard the Mary Celeste would etch itself into maritime legend, forever becoming the subject of baffled speculation. The scene that greeted them was one of profound, inexplicable emptiness. The ship was deserted. Not a soul. It was as if every living being had simply vanished into the thin sea air. Devoe's boots echoed ominously on the deserted deck. The atmosphere was not one of violence or panic, but of bewildering tranquility. A snapshot of life abruptly paused. They meticulously searched the vessel, their initial relief at finding no immediate signs of a struggle quickly giving way to a creeping dread in the galley. A half-eaten meal sat on the table, as if lunch had been interrupted mid-bite. A kettle of water rested on the stove, still warm. In the captain's cabin, a sewing machine lay open, a half-finished garment still impaled on the needle. A child's small doll lay discarded on a bunk, a heartbreaking testament to Sophia's presence. This wasn't a ship abandoned in haste during a storm. This was a ship from which life had simply evaporated. The immediate questions multiplied with every discovery. The ship's single lifeboat was missing. Its davits, the cranes used to lower it, were swung out, suggesting it had been launched deliberately, not torn away by a storm. The last entry in Captain Briggs' logbook was dated November 25, 8:00 a.m., 10 days before the Mary Celeste was found. It merely recorded her position near the Azores. There was no mention of distress, no storm, no emergency. The captain's chronometer, essential for calculating longitude, was gone. So too was his sextant, used for determining latitude. These vital navigational instruments were absent, yet valuable items like silver, the cruise pipes, and even cash remained untouched in their quarters. Some of the ship's papers were also missing, but the official manifest and register were still on board. In the hold, several of the 701 barrels of denatured alcohol had shifted, and 9 of them were empty, their contents possibly leaked or evaporated. But the bulk of the valuable cargo remained. The main hatch was slightly ajar, though not enough to suggest a massive wave had swept over the deck. Water was found in the bilge, a common occurrence, but not enough to suggest the ship was sinking. The Mary Celeste was adrift, well-provisioned, seaworthy, and mysteriously empty. Dei Grazia, under salvage law, brought the Mary Celeste into Gibraltar. The immediate spectacle of a ghost ship brought with it intense scrutiny. At a Vice Admiralty Court hearing was convened, overseen by Sir James Cochrane, the Chief Justice of Gibraltar, with Frederick Sollyflood, the Attorney General, leading the investigation. Sollyflood, a man known for his tenacious and often suspicious nature, immediately suspected foul play. Piracy, mutiny, insurance fraud, all were considered. The lure of A profitable salvage award also raised questions about the Dei Grazia's actions. For weeks, the authorities meticulously examined the Mary Celeste. Every timber was scrutinized, every remaining item documented. Divers explored her hull, but the answers remained elusive. The lack of any signs of violence, blood, or forced entry systematically dismantled the theories of mutiny or pirate attack. Why would pirates leave valuable cargo and personal effects untouched? Why would mutineers abandon a perfectly good, well-provisioned ship? The theory of insurance fraud also crumbled. The cargo was mostly intact and the ship itself was barely damaged. The only significant deviation was a roughly sawn hole in the bow, possibly from a faulty compass binnacle, but it offered no definitive clue to the disappearance. The court ultimately awarded the Dei Grazia a relatively modest salvage fee, acknowledging the mystery while implicitly rejecting the more sensational claims of criminal intent. The investigation, for all its rigor, concluded with an unsatisfactory void. The Mary Celeste's secret remained locked within her silent hull, so, if not violence or crime, what force could compel 10 souls, a seasoned captain, his family, and an experienced crew, to abandon a perfectly sound vessel in the middle of the Atlantic? The absence of a definitive answer has given rise to countless theories, each attempting to fill the terrifying void left by the Mary Celeste. The fumes theory. This remains one of the most widely accepted and plausible explanations. The Mary Celeste carried 701 barrels of highly volatile denatured alcohol. During transit, some barrels were known to leak, releasing flammable, intoxicating, and potentially suffocating vapors into the ship's hold. A sudden shift in the cargo, perhaps due to rough seas, could have caused more significant leakage, creating a potent, explosive atmosphere. Captain Briggs, a cautious man, might have detected these fumes, feared an imminent explosion, and, in a moment of panic, ordered everyone into the ship's single lifeboat. His intention would have been to wait out the danger at a safe distance, then reboard the vessel once the air had cleared. The missing chronometer and sextant suggest a planned, if hurried, abandonment, as they would be crucial for navigation once back on board. But then, something went horribly wrong. A sudden squall, a rogue wave, or even a faulty towline connecting the lifeboat to the Mary Celeste could have snapped, sending the small boat and all its occupants adrift into the vast, indifferent ocean. Lost in the swells, out of sight of their mothership, they would have been doomed. Natural phenomena. The Atlantic is a realm of unpredictable power. Could a localized waterspout have lifted water from the sea, creating a terrifying column of wind and spray that momentarily disoriented the crew and damaged rigging, prompting a desperate abandonment? Or perhaps a microburst, a sudden violent downdraft of air, could have struck the ship, momentarily knocking her on her side, filling her with water, and convincing the crew she was sinking before she righted herself. Such an event could easily lead to an immediate, life-preserving decision to launch the lifeboat, only for a subsequent wave or change in wind to separate them from their ship. The displaced hatch cover found on the Mary Celeste could be consistent with such a violent, localized event. Less conventional theories have also surfaced over the decades. Some have speculated about piracy, but the undisturbed cargo and valuables contradict this. Mutiny or an internal conflict among the crew is similarly unlikely, given Captain Briggs' character and the absence of any signs of struggle. The ship was not plundered, nor was there any indication of a fight. Theories of ergotism, a fungal poisoning from contaminated rye flour causing hallucinations, have been floated, but lack any concrete evidence of such a disease among the crew or on the ship. Even more fanciful ideas, such as sea monsters or extraterrestrial abduction, have briefly entered the narrative, reflecting the profound human need to explain the unexplainable. Ultimately, none of these theories fully satisfy the chilling silence of the Mary Celeste. Each holds a piece of the puzzle, but no single explanation accounts for every missing detail. The last entry in the logbook, the missing instruments, the launched lifeboat, the undisturbed personal effects, these are fragments of a narrative that remains stubbornly incomplete. The Mary Celeste remains one of history's most enduring maritime mysteries precisely because of its tantalizing lack of a definitive answer. She is not a story of shipwreck, nor of overt tragedy, but of absolute, inexplicable disappearance. She reminds us of the ocean's vast indifference, its capacity to swallow lives and secrets whole, leaving behind only echoes and whispers. For nearly a century and a half, the ghost ship has continued her spectral voyage through our collective imagination. She stands as a poignant symbol of the human condition in the face of the unfathomable, a reminder that some questions may forever defy our logic and our pursuit of truth. The Mary Celeste is more than just a ship. She is a canvas upon which we project our deepest fears of the unknown, our relentless curiosity, and our enduring fascination with the mysteries that lie just beyond the horizon. And as long as the waves crash and the winds blow, the phantom crew of the Mary Celeste will continue their silent journey, eternally inviting us to ponder the chilling question: what truly happened on that fateful voyage, when 10 souls vanished, leaving behind only a perfectly good ship, adrift and empty, under the vast, indifferent sky? Share your theories and thoughts in the comments below.